Hey everyone, welcome back to the range. My name is Matt, also known as the King of Armor Destruction and the Armor Wizard. Zap, zap. Do you hear that? Do you hear it? No, it's probably my kid making noise, but do you hear the thunder? Look what we have from Adept Armor today. In full transparency, Jake over at Adept sent us their new RF2 capable thunder plate. What makes this really unique is I'm going to murder this scientific name, Amorphide or Amorphous, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. Essentially, whatever the strike face is made out of on this plate, I think it's undergone a phase change from one type of physical state to another to make it strike face. It is very light at 3 pounds 9 ounces or 1.616 kilograms. It is only 1.25 inches thick, a little on the thicker side, or 31.7 millimeters for those across the pond. This is a standard 10 by 12 model. It is multi-curve. You can see all those sexy curves right there. Now here comes the long-winded speech. Over here on my channel, we do our armor demos testing completely different than everyone else on YouTube. I am not an NIJ lab, but I do try to hold some of those protocols that they've developed out here in my backyard. Sometimes I make mistakes. So if you ever see me stop a threat here or a threat goes through, you should always defer to the manufacturer's actual NIJ lab testing for any of those threats. And on the flip side, if you're a manufacturer and you see me stop M855A1 going 3150 feet per second, you should definitely send that off to an accredited lab to have that special rifle threat rated. Since this is rifle armor, we shoot at 45 feet. We also shoot at 0 degrees because that is worst case scenario. That's another thing that I try to maintain over here on my channel is we want worst case. So again, if we stop M193 going 3,400 feet per second at 45 feet, there is no plausible way with a single hit at 200, 300, 405 yards that someone shooting a 16-inch M193 is going to compromise your body armor. We also use a giant clay briefcase filled with Roma Plastilina #1 clay donated by Chavant. That is the actual ballistic clay that the NIJ uses, but they heat it up to around 100 degrees and they actually drop a ball on it to certify the dent. It's around 80 to 85 degrees outside today and it has been sitting in the sun, so it's going to be warm, but it's not calibrated, so it's just going to give us a representation of what backface could be. If we shoot M80 ball at this plate and the dent is, over 60 millimeters in colder clay, once that warms up, that's going to be a considerable amount more. Since this has a solid ceramic-like strike face, I would assume, per the NIJ, we've gone ahead and dropped the plate on its face 2 times as a preconditioning test. Normally, most NIJ 06 plates have some type of high-density foam on the front that helps protect that strike face from from drops if you were to fall on it. What we do is we mark a DT on our plate for indicating that the drop test was complete, and then we do a torque test, and if we listen for cracks. If we don't hear any, we mark a TQ. If we hear some, we mark a C. In this particular strike face, I do hear some cracking. Normally, as long as our strike face and our backer has a robust adhesion, those cracks don't negatively impact performance. We also use a chronograph, a Prochronopal Digital DLX, because we need to know the velocity of the bullet striking that plate. And finally, we put a spreadsheet here at the beginning that we kind of foreshadow all the threats we're going to shoot at it. We fill it out at the end with our penetrations and our velocities, and we also do a teardown because we like to see what the inside of our plate looks like, especially if manufacturers like to claim that the plate has edge-to-edge strike face. We like to confirm that, and what I mean by that is if you take this 10 by 12 panel here, some companies will put a foam ring from here to here about 1 inch, and then that's where the ceramic or hard strike face will begin, because the NIJ won't shoot any closer than 2 inches from the edge, so they can put a foam border around here and make the plate significantly lighter. From at least the push test and taking a safety knife and stabbing it in there, the ceramic or strike face extends all the way edge to edge. What makes this particular panel unique is that it is rated for RF2, so 308, M193, M855, 762 by 39, and it only weighs 3 pounds 9 ounces. I do believe that is one of the lightest NIJ RF2 plates that I've tested to date. Now, unfortunately, I only have one of these plates from Adept to test, so we're not probably going to be able to put tons and tons of rounds on it, but we want to try to establish a baseline so that if we do a follow-up testing, we can shoot some more cool stuff at it. But it's pretty much designed to be NIJ RF2, so we're more concerned with M855, M193, 308 Winchester, 7.62x3.9 mild steel core. Now, I do believe the backing material or ultra high molecular weight polyethylene is the same that they used on the Colossus, and it's the same material that we've used in our PE panel testing, and that stuff is really good at stopping speed. So we're going to shoot 3 rounds of M193 at it. That is the 55 grain full metal jacket, just lead core, known for penetrating steel, but polyethylene and ceramic are good at stopping it. Then we have M855. That is a 62 grain full metal jacket with a conical steel penetrating tip. Used to be current issue for the U.S. Army, still is for a lot of NATO countries, but the U.S. Army has gone to M855A1. Depending on how much of this plate we have left, we may take a reduced velocity shot of M855A1 at it. We'll take 3 shots of M855 and then 3 of M193, just so I save some of the plate. We're using a 22-inch TC compass with a turbo 556 on here, so this is maximum real-world velocity. So this should be the upper part of the plate. Pretty good velocity. This one I'm going to put down in the corner. This one on the other corner, right below where it says drop test. This is going to be kind of an edge shot. Now our M193, I'm going to go back up to the top. That one was a little high. Really good velocity though. And then this one will be on the left side. And then this one I'll place on the direct right side of that. Nice. While there is no official NIJ rating for this threat, I figured it would be a valid threat given our current climate and the different conflicts that are going around in the world. This is 545 by 39 millimeters. This is actually 7N6M, which means modified. The original 7N6 core was a B scale hardness, and this particular one is actually on the C scale, so it's a lot harder. These were donated by the Mabel Morris Small Arms Research Institution, aka my friend Andy Morris. We have an SSG 82 here. This has a 23.7 something inch barrel on it, very long. Only 600 of these exist in the United States. This represents maximum real world velocity for 545. Although 545 is a lower pressure cartridge than 556, so normally after about 16 inches we're not gaining a lot of velocity with longer barrel. So this one should be in the above thunder. .31-22. And this is a 52 grain bullet, so you know in 556 we're driving a 62 grain out of a shorter barrel length, almost faster. And then the second shot will be on the same line. I do believe all these shots are fair hits. Now that's probably not exactly 2 inches, but it's pretty darn close. M855 A1 shot number 1, M193 shot number 1, 7N6M shot number 1, number 2, then M193 shot number 2, M193 shot number 3, M855 shot number 2, and then an edge shot about an inch is the third one. Whoops. Ruh-oh, Raggy. We had penetration from those two 7N6M shots there. Now, like I said, that is a hardened steel penetrator. 5960 on the C scale, so just as hard as the M855A1 penetrator, and we're going really, really fast. But otherwise, no pass-throughs. Now our shots up here and here represent worst case for back face. That one's right around 24 millimeters. Down here on the edge, 33, and again in the NIJ, they're not going to test that. This one right here is a more realistic 15 millimeters. Let's step up to the 308 shots and then see if we can have any room for some M855A1. We brought out our 22-inch TC compass in 308 Winchester or 7.62 NATO. That is the current NIJ 06 level 3 standard. So M80 ball at 2750 feet per second. This is 147 to 150 grain full metal jacket. Sometimes the jackets are bimetal. This is from Winchester or Lake City. Very current production. We should see the stated velocity out of this barrel length. We brought the 24 just as an overkill. I've been a little overzealous in the past by just going to the 24-inch, and it's come back to bite me. So again, with one plate, we're going to play a little on the safe side today. So this should be in the middle of the plate. Hey, we actually met spec. Cool. All right, this is where I earned my moniker, the King of Armor Destruction. We're gonna go well above the NIJ spec. We brought out our 24-inch Savage Access 110 tactical left-hand eject. Normally we're seeing 2950 to over 3,000 feet per second with this particular gun. Same M80 ball from Winchester. Have a Turbo Phantom or Phantom M2 up front from Yankee Hill. Just got it back from repair. This one's going to be the bottom of the plate. $29.52. Nice. All right, let's go see what we did. Our two hits of in-spec M80 ball were number 1 and number 2. Then our over-spec was all the way down here. We're a little close to under 2 inches there. I should have aimed just a little bit higher, but we'll count it. No pass-through, folks. Now, this is a pretty compromised area already. We've bunched up our polyethylene, and even the same down here, and that's why we usually don't take edge shots, because it likes to pull the backing material away from the strike face. I would say this is definitely worse for wear for the back face, and we are right at 45 millimeters, so, or maybe even a little bit more. Let me get in there. Let me just get in there. Oh, so yep, 55 millimeters. And then this guy down here, which bunched up the material, right at 80. Now again, for NIJ 06, it's 6 shots of one threat type on a plate, and they go to another one. For the upcoming 07 standard, they reduced it to 3, which I feel is okay for M80 ball shots or 308, but all of our 5.56 testing should always encompass at least 6 shots. Fairly impressive. We saved just this row for some M855A1. Now, Jake did say that this plate is not rated to stop full power M855A1, but what about reduced velocity? This is a 10.5-inch SBR, have a SIG Tango MSR 1-6 LVPO up top. Got our Yankee Hill Turbo 5.56 up front. We have 4 rounds of M855A1. This is the Army's current issue ball round, all the way down to basic. It is an enhanced performance version of M855, has a copper core and a larger and harder steel arrowhead tip. I think we'll take 4 shots on the plate, and that should be the end of it. I'm actually probably going to take 1 shot, and if it goes through, we'll stop, because you know these rounds are expensive, and I just fixed my clay briefcase after a 50 BMG test. So this should be on the left side. All right, let's go see what we did. Our 2 shots of reduced velocity M855A1, number 1 and number 2. Again, those are fair hits. Helper hands. R.A.N.G.E. We have a penetration from both of those rounds. We'll confirm all of this mess here in a second. We're going to do a tear down. Wearing my outdoor research suppressor gloves, so hopefully I don't cut myself on anything today. Now, this is a lot of followers' favorite part, is our tear down, where we try to tear all these apart so you can see what the guts look like, and we can confirm any claims that the manufacturer makes about materials. So here is our backer. Confirmed our penetrations were our 7 and 6M, and then our reduced velocity M855A1. This is our foam trauma protectant. Looks like a high density foam. I measured around 350 thousandths thick. In my opinion, at least from my testing, I think this should be halved, maybe 1/4 of an inch thick at the most, and then replace that other leftover thickness with more polyethylene. Here's our polyethylene backer. This appears pressed, but not as well pressed as the Colossus, because it came apart a little easier. But we measured that right around, I think, 670 thousandths thick for each one of these little panels that we were able to get off here. It's fairly pliable, but it's still rigid. You know, it's not coming apart like a book, but it kind of has. We'll make sure that that in production models is pressed as well as can be. Now, here's the cool part. Here's our strike face, 198 thousandths. It looks like it's been laminated fairly well because it's still there. And it may be hard to see. Let me pick some of this up. But that's our strike face material. It literally looks like glass. Or sugar, maybe it's sugar. Honey smacks or something. Very, very interesting. So whatever this material is that Adept has designed, they're mainly going after RF2 specifications. I don't know if this material has any benefits to making it thicker to try to stop any AP threats. But at this point, you can see there's crack propagation everywhere, and that's pretty much the end of it. Now, somebody at one point commented that they heard on the internet that Adept's plates weren't edge to edge, and that's something that we do like to confirm, because there are manufacturers who will claim that, and then you go to look at their strike face again and it doesn't go edge to edge. You can see that that extends all the way to the edge. Sometimes you see this raised bump here, and that's usually an indication of a foam backer, but in this case it is not. And that's it, folks. Well, if I had to be brief, which I never am, I would say Adept is constantly pushing the engineering and technology envelope with these different material strike faces. This is the first time that myself personally have I tested a strike face that almost looks like glass. It did seem to do its job, though. Again, this is an RF2 plate, or a level 3+, that's designed for common threats, including M855, M193, M80 ball. Our M855A1 was a little too much for this design, but on the flip side, this thing weighs 3 pounds, 9 ounces, and it can stop M855. You won't see that from any other plate in that particular weight category. I know some of my followers have had concerns on where Adept makes their plates and why they're not NIJ certified. Again, there's a bunch of rumors on the internet that they're made in China. Adept has told me time and time again that all their materials are sourced over in Europe and finished over there. And as far as the NIJ certification goes, like many other manufacturers, they're waiting for the NIJ to finalize our NIJ 07 standard that's been in draft status for like 5+ years. And I think it's about time for them to make that final check mark and get it published. With all that being said, it's time for me to get the heck out of here. But at the end of all my videos, I take a moment to thank all those who help make these possible, because there's a lot that goes into them. Number one is my wife and son, who are actually out here on Father's Day helping us make these videos so you guys have content to consume. Number two is my Patreon and Subscribe Star fans. I have a link tree in the description below. There's various different ways to either contact me or support me. I have my content syncing over on Rumble, so if you don't want to watch it on YouTube, I have it synced over there. There's some affiliate codes in there that help earn me some sales commission. I do believe I have one for Adept. It should be Armor King, and that essentially earns me a kickback that I use to buy more obscure ammo. Number three is Jake over at Adept Armor, who sent me this Thunder Plate to destroy with no strings attached. And of course, number four is you all for watching. Until next time, I'll catch you at the range.